So I will, how's that now? You can hear me? Welcome. First-time visitors? We also want to welcome those of you who are or have served in the armed forces or are family members of loved ones. Thank you for your service. We're making some changes because of the weather, but weather permitting, the parade will go on at about 11:45. And then, of course, tonight is a Capitol 4th on the west front of the U.S. Capitol, and the rain will definitely be done by then, so we hope you enjoy the concert as well. And we're also taking your tweets, and you can do so at US Nat Archives. You can also send an Instagram at Archives July 4. So with that, let's let the program get underway, and we want to, again, welcome all of you. I want to welcome the folks and the staff of the National Archives, and we'd ask that you please rise for the colors by the 3rd U.S. Infantry Old Guard, Continental Color Guard, and Adelia Jimenez, who will be here to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Adelia, can you come out here one more time? A round of applause for Adelia Jimenez. Thank you very much. Please come out. And thank you to the Old Guard. And now to give us the sounds of the colonial America, we have the 3rd U.S. Infantry Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. Now, their uniforms that you saw just a moment ago are from the Revolutionary War era. And I'm also pleased to welcome Specialist Matthew R. Harp. He is here to narrate their performance. Again, please join me in welcoming the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The United States Army Military District of Washington, under the command of Major General Bradley Becker, is proud to present the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. The 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, traces its lineage back to the 1st American Regiment of 1784 and today serves as the Army's official escort to the President of the United States. In 1960, the Fife and Drum Corps was organized to participate in official ceremonies and to revive our country's musical heritage. As one of the Army's premier musical organizations, the Corps performs for visiting dignitaries and heads of state at the White House and throughout our nation's capital. In addition, the Corps travels extensively, averaging 500 performances annually while serving as a goodwill ambassador for the Army across the nation and abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. From the days of the American Revolution through the 19th century, Army field musicians played a vital role in maintaining good order, discipline, and morale. The sounds of the fife, bugle, and drum acted as the voice of the commander, signaling to the soldiers when to rise, how to move in battle, and when to retire for the evening. The soldiers of the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps wear uniforms patterned after the musicians of George Washington's Continental Army. In order to be easily identified, military musicians of the period wore the reverse colors of the regiment to which they were assigned. In 1784, infantry soldiers of the 1st American Regiment wore blue coats with red trim. Thus, the musicians of the time wore red coats trimmed in blue. The instruments used by the Corps are patterned after traditional field instruments of the period. Those modernized versions allow musicians to perform more contemporary arrangements than the music found in manuscripts of the 18th and 19th centuries. Listen now as the Corps features the fife, bugle, and drum, bringing to life the sights and sounds of our country's musical heritage. Throughout the history of the American Army, one of the most significant duties for the field musician was to render honors to the flag of the United States of America. The Corps will now play music from the retreat ceremony, an occasion where the flag is lowered, signaling the end of the duty day, and conclude the performance with their signature melody, Yankee Doodle. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. On behalf of the Old Guard Commander, Colonel Johnny K. Davis, and the Fife and Drum Corps Commander, Chief Warrant Officer Joseph Newby, it has been our pleasure performing for you today. Thank you.
Hey, let's hear it for the Old Guard. They didn't think they could do it. They made it happen despite the rain inside. So another round of applause to all of you. Thank you very much. This year marks the 239th birthday of America. We have some young children here, some Girl Scouts, so I'd like the young people to stand up and shout from the top of your lungs, "Happy Birthday, America," to all the young kids on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Stand up. Happy Birthday, America. Thank you. Again, we're thrilled to have you inside the National Archives, and this is, of course, the home of the Declaration of Independence. It's also the home of some extraordinary documents that really tell the story of America, the photographs and the books, the story of our birth and our growth as a nation, And so we hope afterwards you have a chance to tour the archives and also the many exhibits. The person who is in charge of the National Archives is David Ferriero. His mission is to make sure that these documents are accessible to all of you and continue to tell America's story. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's got a very impressive background. He was sworn into this office back in 2009. This was the first time it's ever rained on his July 4th. So you can't blame him. He's also served in a number of positions, including as the director of the Andrew W. Mellon New York Public Libraries, at MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and at Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. He holds a number of degrees, including from the Simmons College of Library and Northeastern University in Boston. He's also a Navy veteran, having served during the Vietnam War. Go Navy, beat Army. No, I'm sorry. Just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Archivist of the United States, Mr. David Ferriero.
Thank you, Steve, and thanks for joining us again to MC for the fourth time, I think, our July 4th activities. Great to have you back with us. And good morning, all. Happy Independence Day to all of you here in the theater, and a special happy Independence Day to those of you who are sitting out on Constitution under umbrellas and sitting on the steps. It will clear, I'm told, so hang in there. 239 years ago, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration, and John Adams envisioned future celebrations of that event when he wrote, "It ought to be celebrated as a day of deliverance by solemn acts of devotion to God Almighty. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with shows, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of the continent to the other, from this time forward and forevermore." That vision of the future got off to a slow but no less passionate start. On July 5th, 1777, Adams wrote to his daughter from Philadelphia, describing events of the first anniversary. Invited to dine with President George Washington aboard the frigate Delaware, Adams wrote, "We were saluted with a discharge of 13 guns, which was followed by 13 others from each other armed vessel in the river. Then the galleys followed the fire, and after them the guard boats. The president and company were saluted with 3 cheers from every ship, galley, and boat in the river. The wharves and shores were lined with a vast concourse of people, all shouting and huzzahing in a manner which gave great joy to every friend to this country, and the utmost terror and dismay to every lurking Tory." Adams continues, "In the evening, I was walking about the streets for a little fresh air and exercise, and was surprised to find the whole city lighting up their candles at the windows. I walked most of the evening, and I think it was the most splendid illumination I ever saw. A few surly houses were dark, but the lights were very universal. Considering the lateness of the design and the suddenness of the execution, I was amazed at the universal joy and alacrity that was discovered, and at the brilliancy and splendor of every part of this joyful exhibition. I had forgot the ringing of the bells all day and evening, and the bonfires in the streets and the fireworks played off. Had General Howe been here in disguise, or his master, the show would have given them the heartache." I love that the celebration that started way back then has grown and continues to flourish today. The National Archives is the final destination for the most important records of the United States government, that 2 to 3% of the records deemed by departments and agencies to be important enough for permanent preservation. In addition to having the original Declaration of Independence, we also have early records demonstrating our fight for the very independence we celebrate today. One of my favorite records is the Oaths of Allegiance. During the Revolutionary War, military officers declared their loyalty to the United States through Oaths of Allegiance. George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, the Marquis de Lafayette, and even Benedict Arnold all signed Oaths of Allegiance, which said that they do acknowledge the United States of America to be free, independent, and sovereign states, and declare that the people thereto owe no allegiance or obedience to George III. The Declaration of Independence is enshrined in the rotunda upstairs. Just think of the courage it took to sign the Declaration and how important independence from England meant for them to risk their lives. It was an act of treason for our founding fathers who signed it. They became wanted men, traitors to the king. By the end of the Revolutionary War, more than half of the signers suffered direct personal consequences for their support of American independence. We have the signers to thank for the freedom we enjoy today. The Declaration of Independence has had an amazing journey since it was signed on August 2nd, 1776. During the Revolutionary War, the Declaration was rolled up and moved from city to city as Congress moved to avoid capture by the British. When the British were burning Washington during the War of 1812, Secretary of State James Monroe directed State Department clerks to get the important documents out of town. And one of those clerks, Stephen Pleasanton, wrapped the Declaration and other precious documents in bags of linen, commandeered a wagon, and in the dead of night headed for Virginia with the records of the country. First, they hid the Declaration in an unused grist mill near Chainbridge in Virginia, then in a private home in Leesburg until the war was over. During the 1800s, the Declaration was on exhibit for long periods at several locations in Washington where it was exposed to sunlight, fluctuating temperatures and humidity, the toll of which you can see today on the document. Finally, officials took note of these effects in aging and wrapped the Declaration and stored it flat at the State Department, where it joined the Constitution until 1921, when President Harding signed an order transferring both of those documents to the Library of Congress. Just before Pearl Harbor and the U.S. entrance into World War II, the library sent the Declaration and Constitution to Fort Knox for safekeeping, where they remained until September of 1944, when they came back to the Library of Congress. And finally, the documents came to their rightful home here at the National Archives. The transfer occurred on December 13th, 1952, with great pomp and circumstance and security, as the newly encased Declaration of Independence was carried up these steps with a military procession into the rotunda. And the Declaration of Independence was safe until 2004, when the good treasure hunter, Nicolas Cage, cleverly stole it during a party in this building to protect it from the evil treasure hunter. And our national treasure was miraculously and circuitously restored to its rightful place and now poses the most often asked question in the rotunda: can we see the map on the back? And I can tell you for certain that the only thing on the back of the Declaration are the words, "Original Declaration of Independence, dated 4 July, 1776. Although the days of traveling of the Declaration are over, the spirit of the Declaration continues today in many ways, including social media. And you can share your pictures and stories from your 4th of July experience at the National Archives at U.S. National Archives on Twitter and Instagram, and share using the hashtag ArchivesJuly4. Look around for the big signs with our hashtag, which you'll see soon, and more social media information. In addition, you can participate in 2 fun social media activities: snap a picture with one of our reenactors, and you can also tweet questions to any of our special guests, and they will tweet answers back. And finally, you can also add your own John Hancock to the Declaration of Independence at a special signing booth. Next, we'll hear the words of the Declaration of Independence read aloud by our honored guests. Thank all of you for coming today. The National Archives is the home of the Declaration of Independence, and since it is the home, the 4th of July starts here.
Not great, better. Not. And can you buy a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the gift shop? Thank you very much to the Archivist of the United States, Mr. David Ferriero. Thank you. And thank you for having me back. Well, I'm happy to introduce the people who will read to you the words of the Declaration of Independence. Now, our first 3 readers, none other than General George Washington, Mr. John Hancock, and Mrs. Abigail Adams. We welcome you. And next, to read the grievances against that nasty King George III, we have 3 leaders of the Second Continental Congress. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Thomas Jefferson, Mr. John Adams, and if he can make it out here, Dr. Ben Franklin, who is now 309 years old. Looking good. He's looking good. And finally, to read the names of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, those very brave men, as Dr. Ferriero had pointed out, we are proud to have Private Edward Ned Hector from the 3rd Pennsylvania Artillery Company. Now, Private Hector, you should know, is a free black colonial soldier. He is also a patriot and an American hero. And finally, we're going to have some audience participation, so this is where all of you come in. As our special guests read their grievances against King George, watch for our volunteers holding the sign. We want to hear a very expressive boo. Show the people who are outside on Constitution Avenue how animated you can be. So let's just try it once. The boo. Ladies and gentlemen, you came for this today, the Declaration of Independence.
You must pardon me. Not only have I grown gray in your service, but nearly blind as well.
Because of the obstructions.
In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall most likely seem to affect their safety and happiness.
Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light or transient reasons, causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shewn that mankind are disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such a government and to provide new guards for their future security.
Such tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good.
He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them.
He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature. A right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only.
He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures.
He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people.
He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers incapable of annihilation have returned to the people at large for their exercise. The state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within.
He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands.
He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers.
He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries.
He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance.
He has kept among us, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislation.
He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power.
He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial, for punishment for any murders they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us, in many cases, of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever.
He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us.
He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people.
He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous of ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation.
He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hand.
He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions.
Out with the tyrant! In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people.
Huzzah! Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here, and we have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and our correspondence. They, too, have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must, therefore, acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. That they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. And that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do.
and the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honors. Hip, hip! Huzzah! Hip, hip! Huzzah! Hip, hip! Huzzah!
Please stay out for a moment. Another round of applause. Please come on out. Thank you very much. To General Washington, to Mr. Hancock, to Mrs. Adams, to Mr. Jefferson, and to Dr. Franklin. Thank you very, very much. And they did just that 239 years ago. I know that there are some members of Congress here as well. We saw Senator Ernst and her family. We want to thank those members who are here today who carry out the words of the Declaration of the Constitution every day. So we're thrilled to have all of you from the House and the Senate. A couple of reminders. Again, join us on hashtag. If you send a photo, the hashtag is Archives July 4th. Also join us on Twitter, and you can send out your tweet at USNatArchives. Well, we want to welcome back Private Hector, who will now read the names of the colonies and the signers of the Declaration of Independence. So here's what we're going to do. Like the colonists, and as we have over here, let's get the huzzah working up one more time. How do you do it?
Hip, hip! Huzzah!
Or short one. Watch.
I don't know. If they don't do any better, they're going to be on the next boat to King George. Let's try it one more time. Come on. Huzzah! All right, very good. That is much better. So we welcome back Private Hector, and he is going to read the names of all of the individuals from each state and shout your approval. But remember, wait for him to read the names of each of the states, and then the...
They're not going to pass back out. It's always done, are they?
Private Hector.
So no bow, we won't go.
These are the brave and proud signers of the Declaration of Independence. The President of the Continental Congress, John Hancock. Huzzah! Georgia, Button Gwinnett, Lyman Hall, and George Walton. Huzzah! North Carolina, William Hoop, Joseph Hughes, and John Penn. Huzzah! South Carolina, Edward Rutledge, Thomas Hayward Jr., Thomas Lynch Jr., and Arthur Middleton. Huzzah! Maryland, Samuel Chase, William Packer, Thomas Stone, and Charles Carroll of Carrollton. Huzzah! Virginia, George Wythe, Richard Henry Lee, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Harrison, Thomas Nelson Jr., Francis Lightfoot Lee, and Carter Braxton. Huzzah! Pennsylvania! Excellent. Robert Morris, Benjamin Rush, Benjamin Franklin, John Morton, George Clymer, James Smith, George Taylor, James Wilson, and George Ross. Huzzah! Delaware! Would somebody please help Delaware? Good. Caesar Rodney, George Reed, and Thomas McKean. Huzzah! New York! Oh, very good. William Floyd, Philip Livingston, Francis Lewis, and Lewis Morris. Huzzah! New Jersey! Richard Stockton, John Witherspoon, Francis Hopkinson, John Hart, and Abraham Clark. Huzzah! New Hampshire. Thank you. Matthew Thornton, Josiah Bartlett, and William Whipple. Huzzah! Massachusetts! Samuel Adams, John Adams, Robert Treat Payne, and Elbridge Gary. Huzzah! Rhode Island. There we go. Stephen Hopkins and William Ellery. Huzzah! Connecticut. Well said, sir, well said. Roger Sherman, Samuel Huntington, William Williams, and Oliver Walcott. Huzzah! This is attested to by the Secretary, Charles Thompson. Let's give him a huzzah anyway. Huzzah!
Private Hector, thank you very, very much. Come on out one more time. Thank you. A true American hero. We clearly have had to make some adjustments to the program, but I think that everyone here has done a phenomenal job under the circumstances. It will not rain next year for our 240th birthday, I can promise you that. Before we conclude, a couple of reminders. Please stay inside while the rain continues outside. The building is going to close at 5 o'clock, and it's open, of course, to look at the Declaration of Independence, also the Magna Carta, the Bill of Rights, and the featured exhibit, which is amazing if you have not seen it, Spirited Republic, Alcohol in American History. And no, they are not serving anything, but please enjoy that. Also, a special hands-on exhibit for all of the young kids, including my daughter, Natalie. It's open until 4 o'clock. It's a learning exhibit. And a reminder, share your selfies. Again, the hashtag is Colonial Selfie, and send your comments to Twitter. You'll get a response at US Nat Archives. And don't forget, you can also be one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, and you can send that out as well on social media, Instagram, using the hashtag #ISignedTheDeclaration. And now for a brief moment, I just want to go through a couple of housekeeping thank yous for the people who put this all together. First of all, the Coca-Cola Company, Dykema, who provided major support. To our good friends at the American Historical Theater and our founding fathers, they were here earlier. Thank you for all of them for being here. To the 3rd U.S. Infantry Old Guard, the Fife and Drum Corps, and the Continental Color Guard, and to our amazing musical performers, Adelie Jimenez, and to our favorite whistler, who you saw earlier on Constitution Avenue, and there he is, Christopher Allman. I have to say, that is really remarkable. I don't know how you do that, but thank you very much. And of course, we would not have this celebration without the tremendous work of the staff of the National Archives trying to make everything work inside the McGowan Theater. Sarah Swanson, we want to thank her, Jessica Lee, Matt Martins, Richard Hart, and all of the people who have been sharing the signs, the volunteers. Thank you very much for being with us. And to my friend Quinn Brewster. On behalf of the National Archives, let me wish all of you a very enjoyable day and wish America a very happy birthday. Again, share your experiences on social media. And as you can see here, what better way to conclude our program and then to welcome the American Heritage Girls who will perform America the Beautiful. Happy July 4th. Thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it.
Hip, hip!
Thank you to the American Heritage Girls. And two final special thank yous to the John Hancock Corporation and to the board here and the folks at the National Archives and their board of directors. Again, thank you all. Happy 4th.
Just one per will be all.